Thank you for attending this session. So, in this session, we continue our journey about user story in Azure board. Today, we will do three activity. The first activity we will discuss about how to estimate the user story, and the second activity we will discuss how to manage and track the user story. And the last but not least, we will discuss about how user story related with the task plan in Azure DevOps. So, without further ado, let's get started. We already create several epics, features, user story, and also tasks. If you missed that part, please visit the previous videos about the basic user story. So today we will discuss about how to estimate the user story. Yeah, okay. Basically, user story is the main component of the Azure board. So if I click the user story, we have several things that we need to know. The first thing first, you will find about story points. Story point is about how to estimate the user story based on several ways, such as a t-shirt size, the power of two, and also the Fibonacci numbers. So it will be good if you implement and agree with any user story models that you will use, especially how to measure and how to define the complexity of your software. So in this case, I prefer to use Fibonacci numbers. So we have 2, 3, 5, and after that age and anything else. So as a rule of thumbs, if you have more than five or more than six steps, you can put the story point uh, is above the step number. So if I have six steps, so I will give eight story point. But this is a rude estimation. A good estimation will use a planning pockers, a way to discuss with your teams, and after that estimate together how the story point will be. Yeah, the mission is to give user story a numbers of estimation, numbers of story point. So after I put the story point age, you will find another planning's numbers, means priority. The priority itself has four numbers: one, two, three, four, and if we discuss the four numbers, it will follow uh, Moscow principles. Moscow principles mean must. It will have the number one priority. Should. It will have two priority. Uh, could. It will have third priority, and the last one is would. It will have four priority. The last attributes in the plannings of user story is risk. We have three level of risk. The first one is high. It means high, the highest complexity and the highest uncertainty. And we have medium. It means it has medium complexity and medium uncertainty. So it's more certainty. And we have low complexity, and it has a lot of certainty. So for this user story, I will choose the medium risk. So let's continue our journey. We will choose the other user story, and we will put the five story point. Priority will have first priority, and the risk will be low risk. So when we have these three attributes, how you can make sure the story point or the user story will be executed by your developers. So, which user story that will be developed first in the first iterations? So, if you want to understand this, let's visit another user story. So, this is the rule of thumb. The first thing first, you need to solve the user story that has highest priority, it's mean one, with the low risk. Yeah. Okay. Regardless of the story point, because the story point itself will only have impact in the how many user story in a sprint, or how many user story in iterations. But if you have first priority and the risk is high, please consider to put it ladders. But it's not only about the three attribute itself. We also thinks about the related work. Yeah. So if the story has a related with the other user story and the other user story should be developed first, you can't develop this user story alone. So the rule of thumb is do the priority first, and after that find the low risk user story. If this two user story is independent, which user story that you will choose? Let's see. The first user story is priority 4 and risk 2, and the second user story is priority 1 and high. Of course, we'll put this one in the first iterations. So the idea of the iteration is you should put the user story in the iteration. And the rule of thumb is it should have similar user story. For example, if we have two user story, the first one is in the iteration one, it has 5, and the iteration 2, it had 8. So the difference between story is not too far. So we won't find the user story. Iteration 1 is only for 5 user story point, and iteration 2 it has 100 user story point. Yeah, it's readily happen. The rule of thumb is the iteration should have same time box, so it's mean same planned effort. Yeah. But the real question is how many story that we can put in iteration. In order to answer that, you should follow the velocity or historical velocity model based on your teams. So if the 2 weeks, the teams can only solve about 10 user stories, so it means the velocity is 10, and you should put any iterations with the 10th user story. We already do two steps. The first step is giving the plannings attributes such as estimations, arrays, and also the priority. And the second step, we put the user story into the iterations. The rule of thumb is you should create iteration with the same time box, same planet effort, and do a velocity, historical velocity measurement based on your teams. The third step is to measure the progress of the user story. How to do that? The good news is there is two ways to understand your progress of your user story. The first menu is about board. Board will be used by the product owners or agile project managers to understand the progress of the user story. It can be active, it can be resolved, or it can be closed. The idea of Kanban boards mean the step by step process it should be do, and after that you can see the capacity of the Kanban board. So if there are a lot of the active uh, user story in the Kanban board, it's mean the team is not effective. The good ways to show the Kanban board work is it has similar work, or a lot of work is already closed like this. And the next menu is about the sprint. Yeah. If you see the sprint, you will see a task board. So the sprint itself, we can put the navigation into the first iteration or the second iteration. And also you can split the task, the person who will solve the task. Yeah. So if I see the backlog, yeah, you can see this is a user story that you need to solve. If you see the capacity, you will see how many persons who works in this iteration, and how many activity, uh, type of the activity. It can be design, development, and you can put the capacity per days. And we also put the day off. Yeah, cool. Okay. So basically, what it will do is move from the active, resolve, and close, and you can see the analytics. Yeah, you can see the analytics, the velocity that can be used as your features sprints, and if you see the backlog, yeah, you can also can see as a board. So yeah, this is a board. Yeah, okay, based on Epic. Yeah, you can put based on a user story, and it's similar with the board that we already discussed. The last step of the user story is to create test plan. So user story will be derived into the test plan. Test plan itself, it's similar with the user story, and many test plan is connected into the iteration. So let me give you some a test plan. Iterations one test plan. Please put a note that the test plan need additional licensing. So if you don't have, or if you have only the basic plan, you won't find the test plan. After we have a test plans, yeah, we see you can put the test case. So the test case itself means similar with the user story. We focus on the user story testings, any testing that related with the iteration one. So if we see the iteration one, let me discard it first. I will go to the board and to the sprint, and you see, uh, yeah, you see the iteration one is about configuration menu. Yeah, okay. Or if you see the another user story, this is about time configuration. So what we want to do is copy this usage scenario, and we visit the test plan, and after that we create a test case. What you put in the test case is a user story itself. I mean, you need to test the user story itself. So you can write, for example, testings, the theme configurations. Okay, and after that you can type the step. Yeah, you can type the step. For example, we have a reader visit configuration phase, system display, the process. Yeah. Okay, so it's similar with the usage scenario. The difference is it will be step by step. So we'll put, uh, let me edit it first. The difference between test case and the user story is one, user story will have one or more test case. For example, about testing the time configurations, we will have several scenarios to test the time configuration. For example, you can change the time but not the font type. You can change the font type but not the theme. You can change both and see what happens. So one user story will have more than one test case. And if you save and close, it will have the testing the theme configurations. And after that, you can also run the test case if you want it. Yeah. After we define the test case, we can visit the execute, and after that, we can check the test case, and you can run the web applications. You can choose run for web application or for desktop application. Let's run for web applications. If you run for the test applications, you will see step by step that you need to test your application. If you select this checklist, it means the step is successful, this one successful, this one successful, this one successful. And if you will have a bugs, for example, in the step is fails, you can put the fail test steps, and after that you can comment uh, the size, font never change, and after that you can create a bug. And as you can see, it will create a bugs. Yeah, the font size is not working, for example. And after that we can put story point to solve these problems, for example 3 story point, and we put the bugs to works in iteration 2, for example, and how many effort that you will do for this bug. We do for the developments, the original estimations will be 5, you know, I'm sorry, it will be 3, and after that we can save and close. If we go back to the board, you will see the bugs now shows in the work item. So the task plan and the board is connected each others. In order to create a task plan, you should have a user story with the usage scenario in there. And after that, you can test your application with the web runners or desktop applications. And after that, you put the test result. And if we see the test result, it will. Yeah. Communicating the progress is the most important thing to do with your customers. So a board has cool features, namely delivery plans. So if you want to communicate to your customers how the user story will be delivered, you can create a new plan, and after that I can type original plans. We can put the backlog in stories, and after that we can create. We have a plan. As you can see, there is a 2 days. Yeah, we already done in iteration 1, and you can see the status of the iteration 1 active or not yet started, and you can show this progress into your customer so they understand what a user story that developed today and what the user story that already finished in the iterations. So that's all the deep dive of the user story. There is a lot things to discuss, and I hope you enjoy these sessions. And see you next time. Thank you.